Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Welcome back to MUFC versus everybody. I am your host, Sean. Just want to check real quick to make sure we got the sound. Someone wants to let me know. Obviously, we did have some sound issues earlier today. I think we got that all worked out, though. So if you're able to hear me, just give me the thumbs up just to let me know for sure. Other than that, we are going to get started on tonight's Man United evening news roundup. Did I get a delay in the start? What is going on with YouTube today? Can you guys hear me now? That is weird. I don't know if you guys can hear me. YouTube is messing up like crazy right now. Let me start over again then. Welcome back to the channel, guys. Welcome back to MUFC versus everybody. I am Sean. I am your host, and I'm just happy to be here tonight with the Man United evening news roundup. Before we do get stuck in, guys, don't forget to hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. We got a little bit to cover tonight. Big up Danny in the chat. Thank you, my friend. I was talking about you a little earlier, my guy, to a friend of mine. Proud of your very impressed with your scouting, your talent ID. You list off a lot of good midfielders, a lot of whom I haven't even heard of. You know, a lot of play for like Boca and whatnot and River Plate. So big up Danny for having that good eye. Game recognizes a game in terms of the nerd scouting point. So big up. Sounds like the sound's working. I just tested it on my phone real quick. So that's always a plus. But tonight we got a lot of different, updates going on. Obviously, if you looked at the thumbnail, we talk a little bit about midfielders, talking a little bit about some of the, I don't want to call it knee-jerk because I don't like calling my own fan base knee-jerk a lot, but a lot of people raging out about, just lack of transfer activity, deals potentially falling apart, other clubs signing players. That always happens every summer. So we'll talk about that a little bit. And then we get to laugh at Chelsea a little bit later on. So again, like the video, subscribe to the channel if you are new. Danny B is already in the house. Big up. Appreciate you stopping by again. Danny B, man, he is loyal. I love it. Thank you guys for supporting the channel and everything. So the evening show, as you know, usually a little more casual, usually a little more laid back, kind of off book a lot. But that's great. I enjoy it. Seems like you guys do as well. So big up there. Did you guys watch House of the Dragon? Does anybody watch that show? I was not really a huge like Game of Thrones guy. I know that it kind of got criticized a lot towards the end of the series. I was watching House of the Dragon earlier. And I know it's not an amazing show, but I was watching this morning while I was working out, and I swear there's a guy in House of the Dragon that looks just like Graham Potter. If you guys have been watching it, you're going to be like, oh yeah, he looks legitimately just like Graham Potter. So you'll know who I saw. Danny B, I'm only halfway through. Yeah, there's more dragons, so that's cool. But other than that, I mean, it's just not really my thing, but it is what it is. I did see another funny little story. As I was scrolling through Twitter earlier, I did see this funny video clip. If you guys are on Twitter and you follow Out of Context Football, there's a short clip of Luka Modric, Antonio Rudiger, and Thibaut Courtois. They're kind of lined up, and there's two chairs in front. There's two players, and then they're supposed to choose between which one, and then they're supposed to move towards it. And so it was all these pairs. It was like Messi, Ronaldo. Of course, everybody chose Messi, whatnot. They threw up a pairing of Bruno Fernandes and Kevin De Bruyne, and I was very proud that Luka Modric and Antonio Rudiger chose Bruno over De Bruyne. Only Courtois chose De Bruyne. So again, recognizing game. Modric, if I was making an all-time 11, would probably be in the starting 11. I absolutely love watching Luka Modric play. I think that it will be a detriment to football in general when he retires. The dude is my age and he's still playing. Like, that makes me feel just all sorts of inadequate in the worst ways possible. So big up Luka for recognizing Bruno's class. He does a lot of just amazing things, and I think Modric can recognize that. So why don't we dive into the United news? Enough of my. I told you the evening show is a little crazy, but it is what it is. We've all had a long day. A lot's been going on. Obviously, a lot going on throughout the day as opposed to the morning show. Only been up a couple hours. So why don't we kick things off with the big stuff, right? Let's talk about some updates regarding United's search for a midfielder. That's what the thumbnail's about. That's probably why you're all here. If you looked at the thumbnail, Danny, I know you saw the thumbnail, and I'm sure your ears perked up when you saw who I put on there. Today, we'll start off specifically talking about João Gomez, just from my boy Danny. Reportedly, Manchester United have shown an interest in João Gomez. Obviously, he plays for Wolves, young Brazilian defensive midfielder. It's coming from the Daily Express. They report that Gomez is one of several players thought to be under consideration by Manchester United. Gomez is reportedly valued at £60 million by Wolves, something that could be a challenge for United due to their limited transfer budget this summer. The report also suggests that United could attempt to drive down that price by including Scott McTominay in a bid for the midfielder. Scott McTominay is not Portuguese, so I don't know if Wolves are going to want him. Maybe if it was like Scott McTominay or something like that. I don't think he's not Portuguese, so they're not going to want him over at Wolves. If United do want João Gomez, Danny B, surprising me, I wouldn't pay more than 50. There's not a whole lot of players in football right now I would pay more than 50 for. João Neves was one of them. I would have paid more than 50 for sure for João Neves. I think he is that good. And you can disagree, or you can agree with me. I think João Neves is that good, personally. I probably would have paid way more than what City paid for Erling Haaland at the time, because I think he is very, very good. I do think he's weird. I do think he is a bit overhyped, but I do think he's very, very good. And 60 for a striker is not that much. But in any case, if United do want Gomez, they will have to move quickly, because Wolves manager Gary O'Neill has shared his thoughts on Wolves selling any of their top players. He says, in terms of talking about Max Kilman, he says, we were aware of the Max Kilman stuff really early. Although it took some time to be concluded, we were in a position where we felt it would get done. So we were able to do some bits before with Rodrigo, Pedro, and Jorgen Strand Larsen. Obviously, they signed. We wouldn't have done them without the Max Kilman stuff. So Wolves made a lot of those moves because they knew the Kilman stuff was pretty much wrapped up. With the financial situation, O'Neill continues, sometimes we have to wait for it to be done to get others. That's the key with anyone that leaves. Might be Pedro or anyone. If it's with 1 minute to go in the window and we can't replace them, he won't be able to go. If anyone's thinking of nicking our best players, we're not going to let people leave unless we have good replacements that we can get in to help us. So basically saying, if you wait too long, it's not going to happen. There's 3 weeks left of the transfer window. If United do want Gomez and they are going to try to get that price down from that asking price, they will have to move quickly. It's doubtful that anyone new is going to get in time for the Community Shield. I know there are a lot of people doubting right now that anybody will be in before the Fulham game. I'm not going to say I disagree or agree. I'm just going to say that's what people are out there talking about. It wouldn't surprise me if we didn't have anybody new in before the Fulham game. In the last several years, we tend to do a lot of business after the season has started. It really bugs me that the season starts during the transfer window. I'd rather have the transfer window end on the 31st and then the league season start on the 31st, but that's just me. Furthermore, on this, Danny B is it's not looking good. Season could be done already. We'll get into some of that mindset a little later on. Because again, I'm not trying to tell people they're right or wrong. I'm not trying to put any false hope. I'm not trying to be naive or pessimistic or anything like that. We'll talk about it a little bit. Don't worry. So still on Gomez, around midfielders. So this is coming from Graham Bailey. He's saying Manu Kone has been discussed internally at United, and he does have fans within the recruitment team at United, given he would also cost less than £30 million reportedly. Kone sounds like he's ready to leave Borussia Mönchengladbach, and they are ready to sell. He's been a popular target for a lot of varying fan bases for a few years now. I know a lot of people really like him. I think there was a couple years ago, it was like Manu Kone and Kefren Turam were like the big names that everybody was interested in a couple years ago. Kone, I do like Kone a lot. He does offer a bit of he can do kind of what Ten Hag likes. He helps out both on and off the ball. He's very good at tackles. He's in the top 18. He's like the 82nd percentile for tackles per 90. Top 2% for successful take-ons, so he can carry the ball and beat a man. Top 15% for progressive carries. Again, can move the ball up the pitch. And he's in the 80th percentile for shot creating action. So he helps his team get into advanced positions. He gets into advanced positions, and he does a good job of just creating chances for the team, basically. Good all-around midfielder. Sounds like he's decent on and off the ball. Good age, too. I think he's, 23 or something. A lot of people really like him. Sounds like he could be an inexpensive option as well. Kind of like a Kakare or somebody who's, not like a 9 out of 10 in any given metric, but a good like 7 out of 10 in a couple different metrics, which sometimes is better. Again, another option available for less than 30 mil. We ran off a lot of those options earlier. Danny B says, haven't seen much of him, to be honest. Is he similar to Fofana? I think he's probably a better ball carrier than Fofana. Fofana, from what I've seen of Fofana, I'm not going to pretend I'm an expert. Again, it's been a while since I did the video on Fofana, so a lot of the stats are probably maybe a little less accurate now than they were when I did that a couple months ago. But Fofana, he's very active. He gets involved. He's good at winning the ball back. He's good at kind of this one-touch give and go. I haven't seen him as being like a decisive passer of the ball. Like, he's not going to be like this deep line playmaker. He's good at getting involved and kind of being this roaming like link up player. He wins it, he gives it, he moves, he takes it, he can link up and keep doing stuff like that. He's got a good shot on him too. I'll give him that. I like Fofana a lot. I like Kone. I think they're both going to be around the same price. So I think you're almost getting this similar player. I think Fofana's a couple years older, I think, though. Another midfielder has popped up today with fresh links to United after we were linked with him last season, and that is Atalanta midfielder Ederson. That obviously he was popping up in a lot of links towards the middle of last season, including links to United. Writing for GiveMeSport.com, Ben Jacobs and Danny Rust, they claim that Ederson is on the list of Manuel Ugarte alternatives that United are currently looking at. He's been attracting interest all season, like I said. Reportedly, he's got Atalanta slapped a £38 million price tag on him, so we'll see what happens there. Do you guys like Ederson? I know he was very popular. A lot of people still do really want him. He'd be another one that's, similar price range to a lot of them. Sounds like it's going to be between like that 30 to 40 million price range for midfielders, unless you want to get Ugarte. Everybody else, maybe João Gomez. You might be able to get João Gomez for probably a little more than that, and probably a little less than the 60 mil that Wolves are asking for. But I think it's probably better business to look at someone who's in that 30 million range and maybe get 2 players for the price of 1 player. But we'll see. We have to do something first, right? But if you know anything about Ederson, if you're a fan of Ederson, let me know your thoughts. Would you like him at United? I've only really seen him much. I don't watch a ton of Serie A. I watched a little bit of Atalanta when Rasmus Højlund was getting popular 2 seasons ago. I followed Koopmeiners for a little bit after he left Akmar because I really liked Toon Koopmeiners. But I don't watch Serie A. Is not anywhere near the one I watch. Obviously, Premier League, Championship, Eredivisie, Bundesliga. I watch Serie A a little bit. I watch La Liga a little bit, but that's about it. Belgian league, I probably watch more Belgian football than I do Italian football, if that tells you anything. But moving on to another midfielder. So one midfielder that will probably looks like there's going to be off the table is Martin Zubimendi. Word is on the street that Zubimendi could be joining Liverpool. This is coming from Ben Jacobs, reporting that Liverpool are optimistic on signing Martin Zubimendi in a move spearheaded by sporting director Richard Hughes. Zubimendi's emerged as a key priority for Liverpool. He has a €60 million release clause, which apparently Liverpool see as market value. They do prefer not to trigger that directly, just again, because when you trigger a release clause, you have to pay it all. They want to break it down into spread over a couple of years like we did with Xerxes. But Jacobs reports that all options are being explored. He adds that Sociedad will respect Zubimendi's decision if he chooses to leave. Player has always been attached to the club and rejected big moves in the past, including the chance to go to Arsenal. Ornstein added his 2 cents in as well. He says Sociedad expects Zubimendi to accept the move to Liverpool. Clubs would still need to agree the fee unless Liverpool decide to trigger that release clause. It isn't finalized yet, but it does sound like it's getting close. I don't understand how Liverpool buy another midfielder because they literally bought 4 last year. I don't get it. So they bought Endo, and a lot of people will sit here and say, well, Endo's not a 6. Endo himself said a 6. So why did you buy him? Why did you buy a 30-year-old 6 who isn't a 6? You got Zoboslai. They have McAllister. Who else did they get? Gravenberch. They're signing all sorts of midfielders at Liverpool, and somehow they need more. And so, but we're the ones who spend too much money, right? How much money at Liverpool spent? Um, so we'll see. And I'm not jealous. It's just again, it's the double standards, right? But that's rivalries for you. That's tribalism. That's the way it works in football. So got to be able to give it and take it, right? But I know a lot of people were really big fans of Zubamendi. A lot of United fans really wanted Zubamendi at the club. Again, like I said earlier, I don't watch a ton of or La Liga, so I'm not going to pretend like I've watched a ton of Zubamendi. But if you guys are fans, if you guys like him, if you guys are bummed that he's might be going to Liverpool, let me know. If you don't really care, you didn't really want him, let me know that too. You will see, because I've seen a ton of Liverpool accounts online saying he rejected United. He didn't reject United. We never really made an offer. Can't reject someone who doesn't make an offer. Again, it didn't sound like he wanted to leave Sociedad. It really doesn't sound like he wants to leave Spain. And we didn't, and Sociedad didn't want to sell him. And if we're not going to spend a ton of money on Ugarte, who was our first choice, we're not going to trigger a release clause for somebody who isn't our first choice, because we're cheap. But I've also seen United fans slating Ten Hag over Liverpool potentially signing Zubamendi. I literally, every time another club signs a player this summer, United fans are going in on Ten Hag, they're going in on Sir Jim, they're going in on Ineos. I just don't get it. It's so just reactionary to me. People need to remind themselves, like, this is real life. This isn't FC 24. This isn't Football Manager. It's not just a simple, negotiate and go sit down, do the cutscene, hold down the A button to skip back the cinematic, focus on the price, focus on the fee, focus on the bonuses and whatnot, and then it's over with in a minute. Like, that's not the way it works. It just isn't. There is a back and forth. There is delays. People do play these negotiation tactics. They go silent, they ghost you, they make you wait, they do everything they can. This is how it works. And you got to remember, yes, Ashworth has experience. Yes, Omar Barada has experience, but Ashworth didn't come in until July. Barada, they were both on gardening leave. It's not like they were sitting there in April, May, June, ready, like planning and plotting. They weren't allowed to do any of that. So the people that we still had in charge at the time, like, the people have been doing this for a while. So it took time. Ineos had to come in and do the audit. They had to figure out it's not just about transfers. It's when you own something, it's not just about the players that you're buying or selling. It's about everything. And Ineos are trying to make sure they're looking at every single aspect of this club. So I've said it before, and I've said it again, calm the F down. It is a bummer. It is frustrating. I get it. I've expressed some frustration, but I've also said, like, you don't want to be jealous and reactionary to what other people have that you don't have in life. Don't compare yourself to other people. Don't compare United, where we're at now, to what Liverpool might be doing. Liverpool, like, we've signed 2 players there. Maybe they haven't even signed one yet. So you can throw it back that way as well and flip it on the head. We have a big knot that needs to be untangled at United right now. And it's a lot more involved than just transfers. Yes, we're in transfer window, and yes, we're signing players. So right now, at the clear and present situation, but the knot is much more involved than that. There's a lot of strands at stadium, academy, women's team, all of it has to get untangled. This isn't me saying, we're going to sign players. I know we're going to sign players. It's not me saying anything like that. But what use is it for United fans to rage out online right now because Liverpool could potentially sign Zubamendi? That hasn't even been confirmed or anything yet. Just wait until the window closes, right? And then you can rage out. I'll rage out with you if we only end up signing 2 players before the end of the window. I'll be first in line to rage out. Why don't we wait and see what happens? Yes, and I've said it many times before. I said it going into the window. We need to get players in for preseason. We didn't do that. Okay? I know that I'm fully aware of that, and that's a big criticism that I have. We did a whole video on it the other day, and we'll talk a little bit more about it now, but a big part of this is having to sell players. Like I have spoken about before, there are many, many reasons we are stuck in this FFP PSR trap, and it comes down to fees, wages, and the recruitment team that was in charge for the last decade. Phil Brown on Twitter, so Philip De Bruyne, if you want to follow him on Twitter, he said it very well. Just before I went live, he put out a tweet, and he said this: I understand United fans want signings. We all do, and I have been critical of Ineos where I felt necessary, but there are a few realities to be faced. United are a money-losing business. The Glazers bled the club of its cash, made United responsible for massive debt and interest payments. Their financial management and deals that they've structured were borderline criminal, and with the new rules, owners just can't come in and spend their own money. It's not easy selling players at United because of previous mismanagement. Ineos inherited a total mess. He says, I'm still quite confident we'll bring in 2, maybe 3 more players. I don't know how confident I am in that last bit, but you get the point. We can't sell players. It's people are online saying, just sell them, just sell them. Just why can't we just sell? See other players. Like, it's not that easy. How much was Conor Gallagher being paid a week at Chelsea? Does anybody know? I think I mentioned it earlier. It wasn't that much. Wan-Bissaka's on 90K a week, right? Casemiro is on like 300K a week. Martial, Varane, De Gea. There's a reason we can't sell players because the previous regime overpaid these players. They paid too much for them. And so you're never going to make your money back because you spent almost twice. There's more players that we've spent probably almost twice as much as they're worth over the last decade than I've ever seen in my life. So you're never going to make your money back, which is why we keep upping contracts and stuff, because we're hoping upon hope that the players will improve, like Martial or Phil Jones or somebody, and we'll get money for them. It doesn't work that way. That is just absent-minded, amateur hour, bush league thinking. It's just not a reality that exists in football. So we keep upping contracts. I mean, how much was Martial on by the end of his contract? And Danny B agrees, 100. That is the reason. And no one wants to talk about it. Everyone just wants to say, well, Ten Hag has spent this much. Ten Hag hasn't spent any money. Ten Hag's literal job as the manager is to manage the team. He is meant to contribute to recruitment and scouting, but he's not meant to be the whole guy in charge. He had to do that because if not, then who was going to be in charge? It was going to be John Murtaugh, Richard Arnold, and Ed Woodward. Those are going to be the guys that were in charge. Do you really want those guys doing it? No, Ten Hag came in and recognized, like, no, you guys suck at this. I need to have a little more flexibility. I'm not saying that all of his players have been amazing, because they haven't. I've been critical of that as well. Managers aren't meant to have that kind of say-so, but he had to do it. Second, like I've said many, many times, Ten Hag doesn't decide the fee we pay for players, and he does not decide the wages we pay the players. That's not on him. People want to keep hitting him with the Antony stick. He had nothing to do with Antony other than he wanted this player in June. We waited till August, and we paid more than twice as much as what we originally quoted at. That's not on Ten Hag. At that point, that was on the recruitment team for not doing their job. And it got to a point where it was like, we were already a couple matches into the season, and it was like, well, we have to pay this much, and you can't get any other players, or you don't get a winger at all that you wanted after we waited this whole time. A proper recruitment team probably would have said, no, you need to work with Sancho, and then we'll revisit this next year. But that's not what happened. Again, it is what it is. But people are too quick to jump on Ten Hag for stuff that he has nothing to do with. And, like, I don't know if it's just like they're just doing it on purpose. They know they're idiots or what, but I feel like I'm having to explain things to children sometimes when it comes to things like that. And that's not into you guys. It's just the way things are. It's funny sometimes. You have to laugh. So when it comes to this, so we've seen United. They've been prepared to walk away from deals that they deem too expensive. We did it with Branthwaite. We did it with Ugarte as well. There's been another piece in GiveMeSport.com. I did write an article for GiveMeSport.com like probably about 10, 11 years ago. It was a very long time ago. So I've been around the block, like I said. Give Me Sport, Steady News. It's been a whirlwind. So Dean Jones, writing for Give Me Sport, has claimed that we are prepared to do the same with Matthias de Ligt. We are prepared to walk away if Bayern don't want to come down on their asking price. Bayern want 50 million plus add-ons. And apparently we think that that's just way more than anyone's going to pay for de Ligt. I think it's probably more than we need to pay. If it were 50 million, including add-ons, I would still be like, but I'd probably say, okay, whatever. But 50 million plus another whatever in add-ons, that's ridiculous. Remember too that Bayern paid like 67 million euros for de Ligt when they brought him from Juventus. So again, just like PSG and Ugarte or Atletico and João Felix, it's not the buyer's fault that you overpaid for a player and now you're stuck with him. We've been dealing with that for years. Welcome to the club, guys. This is the way it works. You're going to take a loss, or you're going to lose the player for free in whatever many years, or some Saudi league is going to come in with a crazy offer for him, and like, cool, whatever. We're the only club who doesn't get good money from the Saudi league, apparently, but that's what's going to happen. The problem is that we're falling into the Harry Maguire trap where we're haggling, and then we end up caving. Same thing we did with Anthony as well. Like, it just doesn't. And that's where I will get critical. I did the video of the day, have Ineos been naive when it comes to how hard it is going to be to sell these players? Like, we thought we were going to get offers for Casemiro. We didn't get any offers for Casemiro. Fulham are prepared to walk away from Scott McTominay because they can't fork up 25 million for him. Wan-Bissaka, as we're going to talk about in a second, like, what's going on there? As far as those McTominay links to Fulham go, it doesn't sound like Fulham can or want to spend more than that 20 million, right? They've famously been interested in Andre at Fluminense as well. They've already had a 25 million package rejected from Fluminense for him. But it is now being reported that because Fulham have had that offer for Andre rejected, that United have a chance to swoop in. I know a lot of people like Andre. I know he rejected Liverpool. And now it looks like Fulham are not going to maybe get him unless they want to spend money. The midfield stuff is all over the place this summer, hence the thumbnail. Like, it's crazy. I could have thrown about 6 more midfielders in that thumbnail, and I could close my eyes and throw a rock and hit a midfielder that we've been linked with. It's insane right now. Again, Danny B and I rattled off several midfielders this morning. They're all good midfielders. They wouldn't cost an arm and a leg. You could get 2 of them for the price of one Ugarte. It's like, that's how we're measuring midfielders now. Like, how much of an Ugarte is this? Oh, he's going to cost you about half an Ugarte. That guy's going to be an Ugarte and a half. Well, I don't know about that. This is the way we're working now. So there are options. With good recruitment, with good scouting, with good talent identification, you can find options. Literally anybody like you and I who have a half hour to chill on the computer and go look around on the internet can identify several options just based on numbers alone, and then go look them up and see what the eye test tells you. It's not hard to do. And so it's just, I don't understand why we don't seem to be very good at it at United. We just don't. I'm trying to remember the last time we scouted, like, we did a good piece of scouting, like a player that was a little bit unheard of, a player a little like unfamiliar that maybe we got for cheap. I'm struggling to think of one off the top of my head, to be honest with you. I just don't think we really ever do that, do we? So it is what it is. On midfielders, don't even ask me about the Frankie de Jong shit, because please don't. I don't have it in me to entertain these rumors this summer. It's been 2 years of Frankie de Jong rumors. We got more of them that popped up the other day. I said my piece on it. I gave you the latest piece of news. I'm not buying any of these rumors that we've expressed interested in him. I think the guy who mentioned it initially was, and I'm not trying to be like critical or judgmental or anything, but a guy with a couple thousand followers on Twitter, excuse me. And since he's mentioned made this claim that we've expressed an interest in Frankie de Jong again, this was like earlier today, his followers have like doubled since then. Like that one guy the other week, I forget what that one was. It was some same random guy who didn't have very many followers. And then by the end of the day, after he made this random claim about United, he'd gotten like double his followers. Like, that's just what you do now when you want to get followers. You just link United to somebody. Danny B says the scouts find them, but the Glazers never sign off on it. You see, that's so frustrating to me. Like, why is it the Glazers won't sign off on a player? Like, is it just because they don't think the player's popular enough? Like, I don't get that. I would like a newbie might come in and say, oh, maybe they don't want to overpay for a fee. Well, we do overpay for fee, and we overpay in wages. So we love to overpay. Apparently, we love doing the bad things really well, and we hate doing the good things really well. It's what it is. Danny B says, the scouts referred João Gomez, Marcus Leonardo, Eric Ten Hag. He wanted them, and the Glazers gave him Savitzer and Weghorst. Yeah, and Ragnick wanted Alvarez. He wanted Caicedo. Who else? There was another one that Ragnick wanted as well that we could have gotten for super, super cheap, and we didn't. And so it's Ragnick. The Ragnick thing is always a sore subject for me. I don't know about you guys. A lot of people were critical of his time as manager. I separate his time as our interim manager because he was our interim. Remember, he was never the main guy. He was never in contention to be the main guy. United were very careful about reminding everybody of that every time they put out any sort of posts or anything. It was always interim boss, interim manager says this. Deep it, you'll find out. Ragnick wasn't hired to be the manager. He was hired to be a director of football. And as far as talent ID and recruitment and building a structure like that is concerned, he is pretty much the best you're going to see. A lot of players that you've seen come through the Red Bull system are because of Ralph Ragnick. Red Bull, RB Leipzig and Salzburg are where they are right now, basically because of Ralph Ragnick. We did him dirty. It's ridiculous that he was fired for doing poorly at a job he was not hired for, that he was basically shoehorned into on an emergency basis. It's so bad. Like, and people will say, well, Ten Hag didn't want to work with him. It's not just, that's not the way it happened. Let's chill out. Yeah, Danny B says Ralph got screwed. Ralph did get screwed, man. And how good did Austria look at the Euros, by the way? Like, I know they didn't win, obviously, but they were causing problems for a lot of people. They have a lot of really good players. Leimer, so good. Sabitzer, so good. I like Sabitzer. I think he's very good. It's a bummer that it didn't work out and we didn't end up keeping him, but it is what it is. Weghorst, the less said about Weghorst, the better, right? Great heart, can't fault his heart. Just dude could not find the back of the net to save his life. He could not find it with both eyes, two hands, a GPS, and a map. Man, I feel bad for him, but it is what it is. But I was at Old Trafford to see him score against Real Betis, so I'll take that collector's item to the bank. You know what I'm saying? Moving on a little bit. So there has been a claim made tonight that West Ham could be walking away from Aaron Wan-Bissaka deal. This is coming from Mike McGrath of the Telegraphs, right? He says it hasn't been possible for West Ham to work out a deal for Aaron Wan-Bissaka. They're not looking at Kieran Trippier. I saw a report just before I went live that they might be looking at Arnau Martinez, I think his name is, and Ferdi Kadioglu, the Turkish fullback that we were linked with last month. If this is true and West Ham are walking away from Aaron Wan-Bissaka, I can't say I'm surprised. I know there was a big to-do about he wanted to pay out. They didn't want to pay his wages. Obviously, he wanted the wages, but I'm like, if you're gonna leave, just take a pay cut or don't leave. I don't get that. So I think that West Ham it sounds like West Ham want to strengthen that side of the pitch, and they didn't want to keep haggling. They wanted to get someone in, but it is what it is. It's infuriating how shit we are when it comes to selling players. It really is infuriating. We have been bad at that for so many years. And again, it just comes down to those three things I mentioned: the wages, the fees, and the people in charge of those decisions for so many years. There's nothing else you can lay that on other than that. You can't lay it on Ten Hag. You can't lay it on Ineos. You can't lay it on Fergie. You can't lay it on the players. You lay it on the people who are in charge of these deals. Somehow, Ed Woodward is just chilling and laughing his ass off right now. If you want to deep it, all right, you remember the Super League stuff. When did that announcement come out? What was that? What year? Was that 2021? That Super League announcement came out, and then United fans protested the Liverpool match. Is that what that was? There's a book back here. I can never find the books when I want to talk about them. There it is. There's a book right here called The Club, right? Go look it up. It's by Joshua Robinson and Jonathan Clegg. This book, right? This book was copyrighted in 2018. The chapter that I'm getting ready to talk about takes place in like 2015, 2016. That chapter is talking about the initial secret meetings regarding the Super League that were held at like hotels and stuff that Ed Woodward was in charge of. Ed Woodward and the Glazers and United and all these other teams have been working on this Super League thing for nearly a decade. It only just got to that point of near finalization a couple of years ago. Ed Woodward, again, was kind of the stooge in that. He was kind of like the mediator for that. I think Ed Woodward somewhere is just like, you guys put me in this situation. I didn't like this, and I got screwed out of it. I'm doing all these deals like this on purpose, so you guys are going to have to suffer from it one day. Ed Woodward, maybe he was an evil genius. I don't know. But somewhere he's just laughing at the fact that we can't sell any of these players that he was responsible for bringing into the club. So Again, brings us back to Wan-Bissaka. Same situation. What does this mean for United's interest in Nusayr Mazraoui? Obviously, we saw all those reports. We needed to sell Wan-Bissaka. To get Mazraoui, getting Mazraoui was hinging upon what was going to happen with Wan-Bissaka. And I don't know what that means now for Mazraoui. I get the perspective from Ineos and whatnot for trying to get a fair market value for players when we need to sell them. And I've said it as much. I get it. You know, when you have Emile Smith-Rowe going for 35 million, McTominay, by that metric, should be worth as much, at least, if not more. But it then becomes about priorities. Is your priority to get market value, or is your priority to strengthen the squad and get us in a good jumping off point for the season? When you're haggling over a few million, and that is the difference between strengthening the squad or not, it's just not worth it to haggle that more when it comes to selling a player. What's it going to make a difference if we get 20 million for McTominay or 25 million? At the end of the day, that extra 5 million is not going to make a huge difference. And that could have already seen us with a midfielder in play. Haggling over 5 million for Wan-Bissaka could have meant the difference between now. We could have had Mazraoui here for a week. Like, that's the kind of stuff that frustrates me. Danny B says, rough road ahead. Oh no, try not to go down that road, man. Don't go down that spiral. Don't go down that emotional and mental spiral, my guy. I'm trying to keep you guys from that darkness, right? Go towards the light. I know it's hard because I'm saying all this negative stuff and I'm raging out a little bit. It's just trying to give context again. The reason I bring it up is just so many people getting so frustrated. And like Philip Brown obviously was responding to it. So many people raging about the COVID, allowance earlier, and Kieran Maguire had to step in. Like, I'm not putting myself on that level. I'm just saying the reason I'm saying it, the reason these guys are responding online is because so many of the United fan base are just frustrated. They get frustrated every time somebody signs a player and we don't. They blame. They want someone to blame. It's human nature. We want to point the finger at somebody. We want to find a reason. And sometimes there isn't a solid face to lay the blame on. There just isn't. In this case, the face is the previous team. They're not here anymore. It doesn't really do much to rage about it and try to lay the blame on whoever just happens to be nearby. Anger is like a grenade. It's not like an arrow. You throw it and it's area of effect. If you're playing a video game, it's everybody around you. That's just who's going to get hit by it. That's just the way anger works. We need to just, like I said, take a moment, breathe. If you want, maybe in the future, we can practice some relaxation techniques. We can practice some box breathing from the diaphragm, not the chest. Breathing from the diaphragm is very relaxing. It's naturally how your body relaxes. We can practice this in the future, maybe towards the end of the transfer window. Maybe if we start losing a couple games to start the season, we'll do a therapy session online, all right? Again, nothing I say here is meant to be taken as therapeutic professional advice. Keep that in mind. I have to put that disclaimer out now and then, or else people will sue me. No, you can't sue me. I'm just a guy on YouTube. But let's all just be patient. We've got a couple more weeks left. I know I just sat there and freaked out a little bit. I'm telling myself this just as much as I'm telling you. We've got a couple weeks left. Yes, we waited a long time. We're having a hard time with the deals. No, we're not. We haven't got the players in as soon as I would have liked, as soon as probably Ten Hag would have liked, as soon as obviously Ineos probably would have liked. It is what it is. I do think they were a bit naive when it comes to how difficult it was going to be to sell these players just by what they inherited. And people will say, like, well, they should have known. Why didn't they know what they were walking into? They didn't know what they were walking into. But are you going to let the fact that Casemiro is on 300 grand a week stop you from buying Manchester United? Because, like, are you? Is that really like what people like? This is what you got to do with people. You got to kind of get a little bit Socratic with their reasoning, and sometimes just go down that rabbit hole that people want to talk about. Like, literally saw someone online like, well, they should have known. Like, okay, well, what would that have stopped? And somebody would, if you were a billionaire, would Casemiro being on 300 grand a week stop you from buying United if you had the chance? Probably not. So what the fuck are you talking about, bro? like just turn it back on people sometimes, and they realize sometimes if you repeat what people say, that's what it takes for them to realize how ridiculous it sounds out loud. So I tell people, listen, like, say things to yourself before you say them out loud sometimes, but not trying to insult. I'm just trying to point out the kind of short-sightedness, the knee-jerk reaction of this fan base. The Ten Hag out crowd is pretty heavy tonight, pointing the finger at Ten Hag. It's not Ten Hag's fault. Ten Hag's doing what managers need to do. It is what it is. No one's Do you see Liverpool fans raging that they've yet to sign a single player this summer? No, they have a good squad. We have a worse squad than we ended last season with as well. But a lot of it is, again, it's a knot that Ineos are trying to untangle, and it's not easy. For anyone who's ever tried to untangle a knot, they can tell you how difficult it is. I go fishing all the time, and I can tell you when I get a knot in the line, it is not fun. So you have to stop what you're doing, take a breath, calm down so you don't make it worse, and just slowly unravel it. That's all you can do. And so this is what we have to do. Sir Jim said it was going to take a couple years. We know that things aren't going to get fixed in one transfer window. It's not a video game. You can't just bring in 7-8 players at once if you want to. It's the way it is. You can't adjust the budget. You can't loosen the negotiation intensity. You can't do any of that here. This is what it is. So give it some time, and we'll see what happens. Why don't we close on a positive note tonight, because that is going to wrap up almost for us. Before we close, just again, real quick, if you're watching, go ahead and hit the like button. Go ahead and subscribe if you're new. Really do appreciate that. If you like what you hear, if you don't like what you hear and you want to show it to your friends and show them how much of an idiot I am, you can do that too, but just subscribe and like the video before you do it. That would be a big help. Did you guys see this post from ESPN UK's Twitter account? So apparently Chelsea have 45 first-team players heading into the season right now. 45 first-team players in that squad. And they look like they're about to sign a couple more as well. What an absolute joke of a club. You'd think Chelsea might have learned. Obviously, it's different ownership now. But again, it's like, what is Todd Boehly doing? We haven't heard a ton of stuff from Todd Boehly. It still strikes me as so odd that they can continue to sign as many players as they have, personally. Like, it's not like Conor Gallagher you sold him for that much that you're just going to get to buy whoever you want. Like, it's really weird. Zero plan. Zero direction, spending like it's the end of the world. I would not be surprised if Chelsea ended up in a similar situation to Barcelona in a year or so. I really wouldn't be surprised. I'm not going to profess to know enough about football finance to say that's what's going to happen. But if it does happen, I will not be surprised. Also, can someone let United know that Sofian Amrabat is still listed as part of the squad on the official website? Did anyone else notice that? A bit odd. And he was pictured in the new kit too, so that's so weird. And then also, while we're reaching out to people to close things off, can someone ask all of football, just football in general, to start the season after the transfer window closes? Like I said earlier, let's just get that movement going, please. I would love it for that to happen one day. Like, just transfer window, just have it open from July 1st to August 31st. Start the season on August 31st, and let that be that. Why does it have to overlap? I really hate that. But that is going to do it for tonight's evening news roundup. That flew right by, too. We've been going almost 45 minutes, and I feel like I've been talking a lot. You guys have any questions, comments, concerns, thoughts, reactions to anything we've spoken about tonight? A lot of midfield links, a lot of potentially losing out on suitors for players. McTominay, Wan-Bissaka might be walking away from Ligt as well. That's several weeks wasted, if true, right? Because we've been waiting for those guys for a while. I'm going to check online to see if anything else has popped up since we've been going live here. Not much. It is Louis Saha's 46th birthday today. If you guys remember him from a while back, signing what did he sign him like 20 years ago? Louis Saha. We have I don't buy that. I'm not going to listen to rival fan rumors because it's rival fans. So that is going to do it for us tonight. Again, please don't forget to hit that like button on your way out the door, guys. It's super easy to do. Doesn't cost you anything. Makes me feel good, which always is good for my ego. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. Check back in tomorrow morning. Like I said, we usually do a morning show. I'll wake up, check the news, check the rumors, and then go from there. Danny B says, just feel disappointed but not surprised. I could see this coming end of last season. Yeah, I think what started having me kind of feel like it was when we started haggling with Newcastle over Ashworth, and that didn't get done as quickly as I would have liked, because I've said you guys, if you've been following for a while, I've been saying for months, we need to get Ashworth in because we need him to start working. And that was my biggest concern. I said the biggest signings we can make this summer were the recruitment team and getting those guys in early, getting those guys working, and we didn't do that because, once again, we were haggling. Yeah, we managed to not have to pay a ton for Ashworth, despite what Newcastle United fans would have you believe. We paid what they paid for him, which they're freaking raging about. But at the end of the day, we did get a striker. We needed a striker. We did need to replace Varane. Obviously, Euro's injured. I do think we need another defender, and we do need a midfielder at least. If we can get in a midfielder, maybe 2, I'll feel a lot better. But it's getting players in is one part of it. Selling players is another part, and getting new players in before preseason was a big preference for me. Obviously, that didn't happen, so we'll see what it is. I am disappointed, just like you, Danny. I'm not super surprised because, again, there is the United factor, and United just seem to be kind of a magnet for this kind of negativity. But you say 2 defenders, 2 mids are essential. Yeah, I think we do need a fullback. We do need a center back, and I would love 2 midfielders. I think it's going to be like an Amrabat and another midfielder kind of summer. But Danny, forgetting about top 4 already. We'll see, man. I don't think Liverpool are going to be as threatening as they were. I think they're going to take a little bit of time. We'll see them about. We'll see them. They'll get a bounce like Spurs did under Ange, but that kind of fell apart. I don't think they're going to be as threatening. I don't see Spurs being as threatening as they were to start last season. I don't think Postecoglou plays great football. I think it's Marcelo Bielsa football, where it's just everybody go, and then we'll try our best to be faster than you when we have to defend, or just get handballs that don't get called handballs. That's how we'll play football. But it is what it is. I think Arsenal will probably be a threat as always. I think that obviously City are going to be up there. I'm not too concerned about Chelsea. They haven't looked great. Chelsea have way too many players, and I don't see them do it. Raheem Sterling's got to be one of the worst attackers I've ever seen in my life, by the way. I was watching a little bit of that friendly the other day. I've never been impressed with Sterling when I've watched him ever. Like when he was at Liverpool, when he was at City, now he's at Chelsea. He's never been impressive to me. But that's just me. In any case, I do appreciate everybody for stopping by tonight. Thank you, Danny, for getting involved in the chat, man. It's always good to have you. Hope you're going to be here on Saturday, Danny. Hope for everyone who's watching, don't forget to come by Saturday afternoon my time. It'll be well after the Community Shield, but we're going to be doing our season awards like I have told you about, and I'll tell you a couple more times. So if you want to prep for that, if you want to get involved, I will be listing my picks for those that people can vote on. If you have your own, go for it too. We're going to be talking about player of the season, moment of the season, goal of the season. We're going to be talking about worst refereeing decision of the season, and then a couple little surprise categories for everybody as well. Hopefully, we're going to have some guests here this weekend as well. So we'll have some other people with me here in the library/studio. You guys might even get to see a little bit more of the studio when that happens as well, because we're probably going to have to push the camera back so you're going to see probably the Cantona kit. You might even get a glimpse of some of the other kits on the walls. You can already kind of see my boots back here, but hopefully, so stop by this Saturday. I will remind you guys again. But until then, please like the video. I know I've said that like 800 times now. One more is never a bad thing. Subscribe if you're new, and stop by in the morning. Danny, cheers, pal. I will see you in the morning, my friend. Later.